The sun over Ravix 9 was sharp and red, hanging low in the sky like a burning eye. Dust blew across the dry ground, and the wind howled like it had lost something. Only one human remained on the planet now: Kellen. He lived alone, in a broken research base, surrounded by ruined metal walls and silence. The others had left when the colony failed. They called Ravix 9 a death world. Too wild, too dangerous, too unknown. But Kellen stayed. He wasn't afraid of the wild. He respected it. One morning, just after sunrise, he felt the ground shake beneath his boots. It was small, a soft tremor, but different from the usual ground rumbles. He grabbed his scanner and headed toward the hills, past the old mining site. There, at the edge of a cliff, he saw it. A crater. Fresh. Deep. Still smoking. Kellen climbed down carefully, dust sticking to his gloves. In the center of the crater, half buried in ash and stone, was something glowing. An egg. It was the size of a backpack, dark purple with golden cracks, pulsing faintly like it was alive. He stared at it. "Are you from here?" he whispered. The scanner blinked red. Unknown. Life form. No data, no species match. Whatever it was, it didn't belong to any charted animal. But it was warm, alive, and completely alone. Kellen could have left it there, but something inside him said no. So he picked it up, slowly, carefully, and carried it back to base. He placed the egg in a thermal pod, adjusted the temperature, and set it near the generator where it stayed warm. Then he waited. For hours, then days. Nothing. Just a slow, soft glow. But each morning it pulsed, a little stronger. Each night the hum of energy inside it grew louder. He talked to it while he worked, gave it a name: Ash. "I don't know what you are," he said once, "but you fell from the sky and you landed near me. So I guess you're mine now." He didn't know then how true that would become. On the 7th night, just as the wind outside turned violent and lightning cracked the sky, the egg began to shake. Kellen dropped his tools and rushed over. The surface of the egg cracked. Then, again, tiny golden sparks flew out. He leaned close. "Come on, Ash," he whispered. "Let's see you." The egg burst, smoke hissed. A sharp, high sound filled the room, and out crawled something small, covered in black scales, its eyes glowing white-blue. It had 4 legs, a long tail, and tiny wings that looked too soft to fly. It opened its mouth, 2 rows of small, sharp teeth, and growled. Kellen stepped back. The creature growled again, sniffed the air, then sneezed, shooting out a small puff of sparks. Kellen chuckled. "You're loud, good lungs." The creature looked at him, eyes locked. It didn't run, didn't hiss, just stared. He grabbed a warm food pack, opened it, and placed it near the baby beast. It sniffed, then licked. A few seconds later, it began eating, fast, messy. "Hungry, huh?" The beast finished and growled softly again. Kellen reached forward very slowly. The creature didn't bite, didn't scratch. Instead, it pressed its small head into his hand. Kellen smiled. "Yeah, you're Ash." That night, Ash curled up in the warm pod and fell asleep. Kellen stayed nearby, just watching. Outside, thunder roared. Wild winds shook the walls, but inside, it was quiet. For the first time in years, Kellen didn't feel completely alone. He whispered, "Maybe you're more than just a creature. You're something special." What Kellen didn't know, couldn't know, was that far beyond the clouds of Ravix 9, in a high-orbit satellite cloaked by stealth tech, someone else had seen the light of that egg breaking open. A silent transmission was sent. "The last Ravix-class egg is hatched. Human contact confirmed. Recommendation, immediate retrieval. Warning, subject is marked royal." But down on the planet, Kellen didn't know about signals, spies, or secrets. He only knew one thing. He had found a friend, and raised something that should never have been raised. 3 months passed, and the creature Kellen named Ash grew bigger. Much bigger. He was no longer the size of a backpack. Now he stood taller than a wolf, his body covered in smooth black scales that shimmered purple under the Ravik's sun. His wings, once soft and folded, were now strong and sharp-edged, like metal sails. His eyes still glowed. But they were no longer innocent. They were aware. Ash didn't just grow, he learned. He responded to sounds, shapes, hand signs. He understood when Kellen was hurt, tired, or joking. And when danger came, he stood between Kellen and anything that moved. The jungle outside was full of hunters, spike lizards, venom hawks, and burrow beasts. All of them feared fire. Ash didn't breathe fire, but he could roar, and one day everything changed because of that roar. It started when Kellen went out for fuel. He hiked toward a crashed survey drone in the forest. Ash followed close, silent, in the shadows. They reached the wreck, dug out the core, and turned back. Then something moved in the trees, a wild pack. Low beasts with spines and teeth, faster than dogs and smarter than rats. Kellen had seen them before. They usually ran from loud sounds, but not this time. 5 of them circled in. Saliva dripped from their jaws. Kellen raised his shock rod. One jumped. Ash moved like lightning. He smashed the beast midair, snapped it in half. Another charged. Ash roared. Not just a normal roar. This sound shook leaves from trees. It cracked old bark. It made birds flee the sky. And it made the remaining beasts stop. All 5 turned and ran. Vanished, Ash growled, then returned to Kellen's side. Kellen stared. You did that? Ash snorted. Kellen laughed nervously. Okay, you win. I'm officially not the scariest thing here. But Kellen wasn't, the only one who heard that roar. High above, in the outer orbit, a Zalari patrol ship picked up an atmospheric tremor, unlike anything in their database. The captain zoomed in on Ravik's 9 and froze the image. A 4-legged beast with 2 wings, black as space, standing beside a human. One of the crew whispered, "Is that?" "No," the captain said. "That species is extinct," another voice said coldly. "Then what is that?" A silence. Then the captain sent a private message to the Royal High Council on Zealer Prime. Subject confirmed Ravik's class Alpha juvenile. Status, alive, growing, obedient to human male. Recommendation, immediate observation. Forward to Her Highness, Princess Ryla. On the other side of the galaxy, in a palace of glass and silver, Princess Ryla stood in front of a projection screen. Her green eyes narrowed as she watched the slow, zoomed video of Ash standing above the human. The camera zoomed in on the moment Ash roared. Trees bent. The ground cracked. Even through the screen, the sound made her feel small. One of her advisors said, "Shall we send a retrieval team?" Ryla raised a hand. "No. But Highness," she stepped forward, eyes sharp. "I will go myself." Back on Ravik's 9, Kellen was building a water trap when Ash returned from his usual run. He dropped something at Kellen's feet, a metal ring. Kellen picked it up. It was half melted, burned. It had a royal Zalari symbol on one side. Kellen stared at Ash. "Where did you find this?" Ash just tilted his head, and behind them in the distance a strange rumble echoed. Not thunder, not a beast, a ship. Landing. Kellen stood slowly. "Company," he said softly. Ash didn't growl. He just stood taller, his wings unfolded, his claws dug into the dirt. "Ready." And from above, a royal skiff broke the clouds and descended like a blade from the sky. Inside sat a young alien woman with silver armor and cold, intelligent eyes. She looked at the human's image again, then whispered to herself, "A man raised a Ravik's beast into a legend. Let's see if he can survive and a princess." The royal skiff cut through the skies of Ravik's 9 like a blade of light. It was smooth, silver, and shaped like a crescent moon. built not for war but for royalty. Inside, Princess Ryla of Zelar Prime sat quietly, her armor shining, her face still. She had trained in diplomacy, warfare, and ancient law since birth. But today she came not as a ruler. She came as a witness. A human, they said, had raised a Ravix-class beast. And it bowed to him. She didn't believe it. Because beasts did not bow, especially not to humans. The ship landed at the edge of the jungle near the old colony ruins. Dust blew across the platform as the ramp lowered. 6 royal guards stepped out first, checking the area with heat sensors and scanning gear. Ryla stepped down last, her long black cape brushing the cracked soil. She looked around, dry, ugly, wild, charming, she said flatly. Then she saw him. A tall, broad-shouldered human with brown skin, dirt-covered sleeves, and a wrench in one hand. He didn't bow. He didn't salute. He just said, "You're standing in my field." Ryla raised a brow. "You're Kellen?" "Last I checked." "And where is the beast?" Kellen shrugged. "Around." As if answering, a shadow moved from behind a broken wall. The temperature seemed to drop. Ash stepped into view. He was huge, now nearly the size of a shuttle. His wings half folded, tail swaying, claws carving lines in the dirt. Glowing blue eyes locked on the new visitors. Ryla's guards raised their weapons. Ash didn't blink. Kellen said calmly, "That's a bad idea." Ryla held up her hand. "Stand down." Her eyes narrowed as she stepped forward. Ash lowered his head slightly, but not in fear, in calculation. Ryla spoke a command in the ancient language of beast tamers, words used by royal trainers for centuries. "Ravas tel." "Obey the bloodline." Ash just stared, unmoving. Ryla repeated it louder. "Obey me." Ash snorted, then turned and walked away. The silence was loud. Kellen grinned a little. "Guess he doesn't speak fancy." One of Ryla's guards whispered, "That's not possible." Another said, "That word commands dragons." But Ryla stood still, eyes on Ash's back as he sat calmly beside the old shelter. She turned to Kellen. "What did you do to him?" "I raised him. He is not a pet." "No," Kellen said. "He's family." She stared at him. "You trained a Ravix Alpha, a royal-class creature. That gives you no right." "I didn't ask for one." "Then why did you do it?" Kellen looked her in the eye. "Because he was alone." Ryla said nothing. Her voice had power, but it had failed here. This man, this outsider, had done something no royal ever had. He had made a Ravix Alpha choose love over instinct, not through command, but through kindness. Later that evening, Ryla stood on a high ridge, watching the jungle. Ash sat nearby, watching her. Kellen approached quietly. "You're not what I expected," she said. "You either. I thought humans were greedy. I thought aliens were arrogant." They both smiled, just a little. Then Ryla turned serious again. "My people will want him. They'll send offers, then warnings, then warships." Kellen didn't flinch. "He's not theirs to take." She met his gaze. "And if I told you to give him up, I'd tell you to go home." Ash behind them growled softly, not loud, but enough to remind her he was listening. That night, Ryla lay in her tent under the stars. She stared at the fire. No crown, no throne, just dirt and silence. And one thought that would not leave her. He didn't teach the beast to kneel. He taught it to stand. The next morning, the wind was heavy. Storm clouds gathered over Ravix 9, as if the sky itself knew something serious was coming. Kellen stood at the edge of the clearing, fixing a heat line with his tools. Ash rested nearby, one eye open, his tail thumping softly in the dirt like a warning drum. Then came the voice behind him, Princess Ryla. "I'm calling for a trial," she said. Kellen didn't turn. "What kind of trial?" "A test of loyalty," she replied. By ancient law, if your creature passes, he is free to choose his path, but if he fails, he becomes royal property. Kellen finally turned. He's not your soldier. He's not your pet. He's not yours either, Ryla said. Let him prove it. The challenge was set for sunset. A ritual ground was marked in the open jungle, surrounded by vines and rock towers. Ryla's guards prepared a device, sleek, silver, and humming with alien energy. Ash would be placed in the center of the ring, with stimulus pulses sent into his brain, testing his loyalty, his instincts, his will. Designed long ago to break wild beasts and reveal their true nature, the machine was outlawed now, too cruel for normal training, but Ryla had permission, from the royal throne, and from herself. I'm not doing this, Kellen said as he stepped, between the ring and the guards. You agreed, Ryla reminded him. I agreed to a choice, he snapped. Not torture. It's not torture, it's tradition. Kellen shook his head. I don't care about tradition, I care about him. Ash stood behind him, quiet, watchful. Ryla stepped forward. Do you trust him? Kellen's voice softened. With my life. Then let him show you the same. Ash walked into the ring on his own, no leash, no command. He sat calmly. Kellen stood at the edge, fists clenched. Ryla activated the machine. The first pulse hit. Ash's eyes blinked. His claws twitched. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Second pulse, stronger. The machine sent false signals to his brain. Threat nearby, betrayal scent, flight or fight response. Ash snarled. He stood, his wings half unfolded. Third pulse, target image. Kellen. Ash froze. Turned toward Kellen slowly. The guards tensed. One raised a weapon. Do not interfere, Ryla said. Ash growled. Louder. He stepped forward, eyes glowing, tail swaying. Kellen didn't move. He just whispered, Ash, it's me. You're okay. Another pulse fired. Agitation increased. Ash roared, loud, wild, the kind that shook mountains. He ran, straight toward Kellen. Ryla's eyes widened. Stop the test! But it was too late. Ash reached Kellen and stopped. His claws slammed into the dirt inches from Kellen's boots. His breathing was heavy, his eyes were bright, and then he sat, lowered his head, and gently bumped Kellen's chest with his snout. Ryla turned off the machine. The guards stared, stunned. One dropped his scanner. He broke the pulse, whispered another. It shouldn't be possible. Kellen placed a hand on Ash's head. I told you, he said quietly. He's not yours. He's not mine. He's his own. Ash purred deeply, then turned to face Ryla. His body rose, full height, wings stretched, tail curling behind him. He stared straight at her, and then he lowered one knee, a half bow, not to obey, but to show strength, controlled strength, a message. I am not a beast. I am not your tool, but I hear you, and I choose peace. Ryla lowered her head quietly. The challenge had not broken him. It had revealed him, and in doing so, it had broken something else, her certainty. That night, she sat alone near the fire, her helmet beside her. Kellen approached, carrying 2 cups. One, he placed near her. The other he sipped. They didn't speak for a while. Finally, Ryla said, I've never seen a Ravik's bow without a collar. He didn't bow, Kellen said. He spoke. She looked at him. You taught him language? Kellen smiled. No, I just listened. She looked at the flames. I was raised to rule things, to control them, to make them obey. And how's that working for you? He asked, only half joking. She chuckled softly. I came here to test your bond, to prove it was a trick. And now, she turned to him. Now I want to understand it. Above them, the stars glowed through the thin clouds, and near the fire, Ash rested peacefully, one eye still half open, watching them both. The jungle winds were calm, but Ryla's mind was not. She stood inside her command tent alone, staring at the message glowing on her comm pad. The royal crest of the Zalari Empire blinked at the top of the screen. Below it, words burned like cold fire. The trial proves his power. Good. Now take the beast. Kill the human if he resists. We do not share rule with outsiders. Her jaw tightened. Her orders were clear, but her heart wasn't. Outside, Ash lay curled beside a hot spring, wings folded like a sleeping bird. Kellen sat nearby, throwing small rocks into the water. They both looked peaceful, unaware, unprepared. And yet, Ryla hesitated. Was it wrong to follow the Empire's command? She had spent her life giving orders. But here on this world, she had been shown something different. Loyalty not built by fear. Power not forced by bloodline. Ash had chosen, and that scared the Empire. That night, Ryla pretended to go to sleep, but her guards did not. Two of them slipped into the trees, dressed in shadow cloaks and armed with sonic needles, enough to stun a beast twice Ash's size. They moved without sound. Their target was clear. Ash woke the moment the first needle clicked into place. His eyes snapped open. He smelled metal. Fear. Lies. He stood slowly, did not growl, did not roar. He only watched, waiting. The first guard fired. The needle hit Ash's side and hissed. The beast flinched but didn't fall. He stepped back, eyes glowing brighter. Second guard fired. Missed. Ash turned, tail sweeping hard. Crack. One soldier flew across the dirt and hit a rock wall with a grunt. The other panicked, pulled a blade. Ash roared now, short, loud, deadly. The blade dropped. The guard dropped next. Breathing. Alive, but beaten. Kellen burst from his tent, half-dressed, blaster in hand. He saw the two bodies, saw Ash standing tall above them, not killing, not running, just protecting. He looked around, and then saw her. Princess Ryla, standing near the trees, eyes wide, hand still holding her comm pad. You sent them, Kellen said, voice low. She said nothing. You said he earned his freedom. I didn't approve this, she tried. Kellen pointed to the royal sigil glowing on the soldier's wristplate. You didn't stop it either. Ash stepped between them, not attacking, just waiting. Kellen looked into her eyes. You lied, Ryla's voice cracked. They told me to. I was trying to protect your throne, Kellen spat. Protect your image? He turned to Ash and whispered, We're leaving. As Kellen packed supplies, Ryla stood frozen. All her life, people had bowed to her, obeyed her, trusted her rank. But Kellen had trusted her soul, and she broke it. Before he stepped onto his bike, she walked toward him, her helmet off. I didn't want this, she said quietly. I was born into it. We're all born into something, he replied. But we choose who we become. She looked at Ash. Even the beast? Especially the beast. Ash looked at her too, and then turned away. That hurt more than any insult ever could. Ryla watched them vanish into the jungle. Her soldiers woke hours later, confused and bruised. But she didn't speak. She just sat beside the fire, holding her crown in both hands and feeling its weight for the first time. In the stars above, more ships were coming, and this time, they would not send needles. They would send chains. The stars were no longer silent. Above Ravix 9, 3 warships appeared, black, wide and without mercy. They belonged to the Zalari High Empire, and their mission was simple. Secure the Ravix-class beast. Destroy all who resist. On the ground, in the deep stone valley known as Bone Ridge, Kellen tightened the straps on Ash's saddle. Not for riding, just for armor. The creature's wings were now fully formed, his body thick with muscle, his growl heavier than thunder. Ash looked toward the sky and growled again. He could smell what was coming. Burning metal. Fear. Death. Kellen rubbed, his side where the scar still ached from last night's escape. You sure you want to fight? Ash didn't answer. He just raised his wings and roared once, sending a shockwave through the cliffs. They weren't alone. The few human colonists who hadn't fled came to stand with them. Farmers, miners, a few, old security bots. Nothing special. But they all had one thing in common. They had seen Ash protect, and they believed in Kellen, even if it meant death. Across the ridge, landing thrusters lit the sky red. Empire dropships fell like black arrows. Hundreds of armored troops in white and gold armor marched out in rows, and at the front, stepping off a shining platform, Princess Ryla. She had changed. Gone was the ceremonial robe. She wore traveler's armor now, scratched, real, no crown. No royal weapon, just a blade on her back and dirt on her boots. Her generals approached. Your Highness, you are not required to lead this strike. The Council has given full permission to remove the human by force. Ryla didn't blink. She looked at Bone Ridge through her scope. She saw Kellen, and next to him, towering like a mountain, Ash. Still beside him, still choosing him. She whispered, "What kind of empire fears loyalty that isn't forced?" She gave one command, "Hold the line." The generals froze. "What?" I said. "Stand down." "But the throne is not here," she said. "I am." Down in the ridge, Kellen saw her approaching alone, no weapons raised, just her. He stepped forward, confused. "You here to finish the job?" he asked coldly. Ryla shook her head. "I came to stand where I should have stood before." Kellen raised an eyebrow. "And where's that?" She looked him in the eye. "Beside you." Ash stepped between them again, snorting hot air. Ryla didn't flinch. She slowly knelt, a royal kneeling on death ground. "I can't undo what I've done," she said, "but I can choose what comes next." The skies turned dark. Empire ships moved into position. A voice echoed from a speaker in the sky. "Surrender the creature or be erased." Ryla stood and raised her voice. "The Ravix Alpha is under royal protection. Any who fire will face high treason." A long pause. Then the voice replied, "So be it." Laser fire rained down. The ridge exploded into chaos. Kellen dove for cover. Ash took to the sky, a black blur against the fire. He slammed into a dropship midair, tearing through its engine with a roar. It exploded in flame, sending parts raining down. The colonists fought with everything they had. Ryla dueled her own guards, not to kill, but to hold the line. Even Kellen used his old mining blaster, protecting children as debris fell all around. But the enemy was many, and they were breaking through until Ash returned, with other beasts, wild jungle creatures that had once feared him, now following him, not tamed, just answering his call. They swarmed the ridge, pushing back the soldiers. The sky turned red with flame, but slowly. The sound of war faded. The last ship retreated. Ash landed hard beside Kellen, his chest rising and falling, blood on his claws, smoke on his wings. But his eyes still glowed. Silence returned. And with it, the truth. The Empire had lost, not to weapons, not to war, but to a bond that no chain could break. Ryla limped toward Kellen, face bruised, one arm bleeding. She looked up at Ash, then at Kellen and whispered, "He was never yours." Kellen nodded. "No, he just chose to walk with me." They stood together as the stars cleared above them. No empire, no orders, just choice, and a legend that had finally earned its wings. 1 month later, the golden halls of Zealer Prime's High Court had never been this quiet. Crowds of nobles, guards, senators, scholars, and off-world guests stood shoulder to shoulder. Not a single voice dared whisper. Not even the royal musicians played, because a Ravix beast was walking up the steps of the Empire's sacred court. Ash's claws tapped against the polished white floor. His wings were folded tight. His eyes glowed with calm, dangerous focus. And beside him walked Kellen, dressed in nothing but a clean shirt, dusty boots, and quiet courage. Behind them followed Princess Ryla, armor dented, sword at her side. No, crown on her head. The throne was not yet occupied, but the galaxy was watching. A silver-robed announcer stepped forward. This court calls Kellen, human citizen of no blood, and his companion, the Ravix Alpha known as Ash, to answer the charges of unlawful beast-binding, breach of royal law, and obstruction of Empire recovery efforts. Kellen didn't answer. Ash didn't growl. They simply stood. Still. Tall. Unbent. A senator with blue scales stood. This creature is royal-born. You had no right to raise him. Kellen stepped forward. I didn't raise him. I helped him grow. And what gave you that right? Kellen's voice was steady. He chose me. The chamber rippled with gasps. Another noble asked, Did you train him with force? No. Did you use drugs, devices, or shock implants? No. Then how? Kellen looked at Ash and said one word. Kindness. The nobles stared. Many were silent. Some laughed. One shouted, Beasts do not understand kindness. Ash lifted his head, took one slow step forward, and growled. Not a loud growl, just enough to silence the whole court. Then Ryla stepped forward. This beast has done what none of your armies could do. He defended our worlds. He resisted war. And when the time came, he chose peace. But he refused your command, said the senator. He bowed to no one. Ryla looked around the room, eyes sharp, words soft. That's true. And that's what makes him worthy of freedom. An old counselor rose, his face carved like stone. If he does not bow to this throne, then we cannot call him ally. Only a threat. He pointed at Ash. Let him show loyalty now. Let him kneel to the Empire. Everyone turned. Kellen looked at Ash. I won't ask, he said softly. Ryla spoke gently too. We will not command you. The room was silent, and Ash stepped forward, past Kellen, past Ryla, straight toward the empty throne. His claws tapped, his breath echoed. The nobles tensed. Weapons were quietly unlocked. Ash stopped just before the throne. He looked at it, then at the nobles, then at Ryla. He lowered his body, not all the way, just enough to bend one knee, halfway. A gesture of strength held back, a gesture that said, I kneel to no name, I bow to no blood, but I honor those who walk beside me. Then he stood again, turned, walked back, and sat beside Kellen. Ryla stepped forward, removed the golden sash from her waist, and slowly placed it on the floor before Ash's claws. Then she knelt, not to the beast but to the choice it made, and the man it trusted. The chamber exploded with voices, some furious, some amazed. One senator stood and shouted, If we let this stand, we weaken the crown. Ryla stood slowly. No, she said. We make it stronger, because power forced is fear, but power chosen is loyalty. She looked at Kellen. At first, I came to take from you. Then I tried to test you. Then I betrayed you. And still you stood, Kellen said quietly. I wasn't alone. He placed his hand gently on Ash's shoulder. Later, in the private garden beneath the court, Ryla walked with Kellen. They didn't speak for a while. Stars blinked above. Soft. Wind moved through tall silver trees. Finally, she asked, What do you want, Kellen? The court is ready to offer you land, title, wealth. He shook his head. I just want space. And the beast? Kellen looked up at the sky. He wants sky. She smiled. Then I'll give him that. 3 years later, a tall tower stood, on the edge of Ravix 9, carved from stone and covered in climbing vines. It had no weapons, only books, maps, and space to breathe. At the top, a small landing pad. On it sat Kellen, legs over the edge, a cup of hot tea in his hand. From above, a dark shadow passed. A sound of wings. Ash landed beside him, fully grown now. Giant. Graceful. Ancient. Kellen looked up at him and smiled. Good flight? Ash snorted. Kellen nodded. Yeah, me too. Across the galaxy, children told stories of the beast that bowed to no one and the human who never asked it to.